Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
Hey, welcome into the Champion Within. Today's guest is someone who lives and breathes the power of mental game. Tami Matheny is a mental game coach, author, and a John Gordon certified trainer. She's the founder of Refuse to Lose Coaching, where since 2008, she's been helping athletes, teams, and everyday people strengthen confidence, focus, resilience, and leadership. Tami has worked across the sports world, but her work goes far beyond sports. She knows firsthand that confidence and mindset shape success in every part of life. Her journey started as a Hall of Fame athlete who secretly battled self-doubt. That struggle became her passion, studying, testing, and teaching what it really takes to build lasting confidence. Today, she's an author, a sought-after speaker, and she leads workshops on the power of positive leadership and the power of positive teams. Get ready for an inspiring conversation with a true game changer in the world of mindset and performance. Hey, champions, thank you for joining us on the Champion Within today. I am really excited, selfishly, to learn from my guest today. I know that you're going to be leaning in, taking notes, and just enjoying this conversation. Tami, thank you for joining us today on the Champion Within. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I am excited to be here. Anything that has champion in the title, I'm interested in learning more and being part of.
Okay, I love that. I do stalking on my guests. You were actually recommended to me. I worked with a cheerleading team locally, and one of their moms saw a post. I occasionally say, I need some guests. Anybody know anyone amazing? You were recommended. So I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to this mental performance coaching. I mean, I know it's a long journey, but we'll take the Cliff Notes version. So just tell us how you got to where you are today.
It is a long journey, but to make the story brief, I was a men and women's tennis coach at the college level and was always trying to, what could I do better for, my athletes, and met Dr. Patrick Cohn, who is a sports psychologist, and he had, a certification program, and he's like, you need this for your athletes. And I'd always knew there was something about the mind. I was never the strongest, fastest, quickest, but I did have success because mentally and physically, I was in pretty good shape. So I tried to give that to my athletes. Well, I started having success. Other coaches wanted to know what I was doing. At the university I worked at. And so I was like, oh, wait a minute, this could be a new job. After a few years of testing the waters, I just made a complete jump, and I haven't looked back since. And you might want to debate me, but I think I have the best job in America.
Well, I love it because I'm doing a similar thing right now. I was a teacher for 20 years. And now I get to guide people and retrain their brains, which I'm curious to ask you, when you first meet with a team, if they're not that familiar with mindset or how this works, do you find that they're interested, but they're still a little unsure because they can't necessarily see it when you talk about mindset?
I see a mix. I see a lot that are like, I shouldn't say a lot, but you do get the far end of the spectrum. Oh my gosh, this is stupid. This is just one more thing I have to do. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in this. Right. Then you get the others, maybe, maybe not. Then you have some that are gung-ho. And I think early on, I really tried to get those that thought it was stupid and win them over. And when I realized I was wasting the ones that wanted to be there are the ones I could get to buy.
I should be taking notes right now. I was doing it with my athletes. I was doing it actually in this in-school suspension room.
All
My
right.
students, I asked my principals, I want to try this. My son has a uniquely beautiful brain. So it's really why I started doing this work. And then I was like, let me try it with my students, athletes, and then the in-school suspension. So I've been doing it for a long time, but as my own job, like you were saying, like maybe there's a job here. That's been a much shorter journey, only a couple years in for me now. But in the beginning, I did want to almost convince everyone, this is so life-changing and transformative. But what a great piece of advice. The people that value mindset, and even if they don't totally understand how it works, they're in. They want this to happen for their team or for their, if it's a parent, for their athlete in general or their students, same thing. I got to remind myself of that. I may go back and replay that for myself.
And you know what? And I do ask that group though, and I mean, I don't single them out, but anyone in here think this is a waste of time, just don't ruin it for the others. And I'm careful to say that. Go have your doubts, but don't ruin it for others.
Yeah, I say that often when I'm running like breath work or visualization. I'm like, it's okay if this is not your thing or you don't believe, but that this is possible. And it's funny, the ones who give it a shot for me, and then they're like, what? Where has this been all my life? I'm like,
exactly.
Okay. I took a deep dive. Tell me what sports you played before you got to that coaching level. And then kind of a double question here. Were you using mindset during the time as an athlete for yourself?
I was using it without realizing it. Mm-hmm. Now you've got to realize, I'm going to date myself here a little bit, but throughout college, I had never heard of a sports psychologist or anyone using mindset.
Sure.
So that started coming in. The first I ever heard about it was a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves who was using it. And then because you have this elite athlete doing it, then it started becoming more mainstream and popular, which, by the way, I use that on teams. I try to connect someone they may know in their sport that, hey, they use this. I went to bed every night as a young athlete, imagining myself having the game winner. So, I was using the visualization without knowing that that's what you called it. I did believe I don't know if I believed in it, but I was really intentional with my self-talk. And I can do this. I know I'm going to. And more productive talk, which I'm really big on, not always positive, but productive talk. So I was using those skills without recognizing it, I believe. Mm-hmm. I swam growing up throughout until I reached high school, and then coaches, give you that choice of you're doing too many sports, you have to make a decision. But I love swimming. But I turned my attention to basketball and tennis, played both in college, competed in tennis after college till having 4 shoulder surgeries kind of derailed any future in that. But I think it's helped me be a better mental game coach.
Yeah, there's a lot of because I was looking into some things. I saw some cool things. First, I love that you just said productive self-talk as opposed to positive, because it has to be all things are going to happen. Self-doubt is going to creep in. What advice would you give an athlete or coach if they were making sure it was being productive and, not being fake toxic positivity?
Yeah. And you're right. There is so much toxic positivity. Athletes are all the time, well, I told myself I can do this. But then there's that little question mark in their brain. Can you really? You're saying the right things, but you don't really believe it. So I have found, I know at least in my life, it's better if I'm productive. Mm-hmm. What do I need to do? Our brain can't have 2 thoughts at one time. If we're worried about, oh my gosh, what if I make a mistake? Then I need to change that to, let's use baseball or softball. Okay. Sure. I don't want to strike out. Okay. Changing that to, what's a productive thought? Keep your eye on the ball instead of, okay, I can get a hit. Well, you're not really believing that. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, definitely. So a reframing really for, because I think a lot of times I often tell coaches a simple one for a football analogy. And ironically, I don't think I've ever worked directly with a football team, but I've worked with athletes. If you tell, it doesn't matter if they're youth or, pro level, don't fumble the ball as opposed to fuck the ball tight. That is basic, but you have to be able, well, we think it's basic, but you're constantly saying, don't fumble the ball, don't fumble the ball. Or if the kid, athlete, adult, whoever is saying that to themselves, they're more likely to fumble the ball because that's what their brain is focused on. So I think that's a great answer, with the baseball analogy there as well. I love that you did the visualization, even without knowing it. It's ironic. Every athlete, I don't know if it's every athlete, I would have to go back and check, but a lot of the athletes that I've talked with, whether they were professional level, collegiate, even high school coaches, a lot of them said, I did these things without knowing that I was doing it when I was a lacrosse player, when I was a tennis player, all these different things. And now they realize, wow, this is becoming more popular. I see it on social media, people saying the mental side of the game, we need to focus on the mental side of the game. And they're like, wait a minute, I think I was doing that and I just wasn't taught. I have found, though, that each of them admit that self-doubt, confidence, I don't want to say it was super low, but it was something that they did struggle with at times. Did you ever experience something like that? And did you purposely or just did something as an athlete, or maybe you do it now as a mental performance coach to get through it?
I think I've always struggled with that. I just like to tell people now, I'm human. I have a lot of the same thoughts as you do. That's what I tell my athletes. But I now have equipped myself with skills to be able to get a hold of it a lot quicker.
Right.
Growing up, well, not growing up, I was a twin. I still am a twin. But I have a twin. And so there was a constant comparison. And what I learned, and my parents didn't mean to, other people didn't mean to, it was not a, intentional negative. But what I learned was, good or bad, it had to be compared to someone else. Like I only did well in a game if I did better than someone else, or I did, I lost my confidence because I didn't do as well as someone else on a test.
Right.
And so without recognizing it, my subconsciousness, it became about comparison. I could have had the best game in the world, but if I wasn't the best player on the court, I didn't really, and the negative way of looking at that as well. So it's something I've really had to be intentional. And for so long, my confidence, again, was based on feedback and performance, which kept me on that confidence roller coaster. Great when I'm having a good day or the best out there, but woo, up and down. And maybe I had a good day, but the coach didn't even recognize it. So it'd be like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Did I not do as good as I should have?
Right.
So that is kind of why, I shouldn't say kind of, it is why I do what I do today, despite the twists and turns to get there. I want to help athletes get off that confidence roller coaster quicker than I did.
Even someone who doesn't have a twin, I'm curious, was it a sister? Were you playing the same sports?
No, it was a brother, but there are a lot of comparisons from the moment of, hey, Tammy's walking, David, why aren't you walking? Hey, David, made a 100 on this test,
You got a 98 or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So teachers did it, and we were known as the twins, so we didn't even really have an identity. It was the twins.
Right.
I can remember my grandmother even saying that. So despite being, female and male, that, it feels a lot of comparison. And I think it pushed me to do better, but I was never happy or confident with myself because I had to do more. And it got him just to shy away from competition.
Oh, wow.
He was a very, very good athlete, but it was just like, you're a good athlete, but why aren't you as good as your sister? Well, I was better for a female, but he could beat me in whatever we did. But
sure.
So yeah. I think it affected us both differently.
Definitely. As a mom, I don't have twins, but I have 3 different, all unique kids, of course, everywhere. People are listening like, of course, all my kids are different, but my 3, very different in their journey. And I'm grateful for it, but I really try hard not to do that because I don't think that I was necessarily feeling that when I was growing up. I'm the oldest, the only girl. I have 3 brothers. But I think internally, I was thinking, I got to be as good as the boys. Even though I was the oldest, there was always that little piece of me that thought, well, I got to do this. The girls can do it too. And my parents encouraged, you can do whatever the boys do kind of stuff. But I don't know. There was always something that stuck with me, and I really have to make a conscious effort with my own kids not to compare and say, well, Danny's doing this, and, in all areas, sports and academically. So I'm curious, when you're working with a team, do you notice that competition within teammates? And what do you recommend? How do you help them navigate through?
Um, I see it, especially on the more competitive teams.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if there's a star and it's not a great team, the teammates tend to look up to that person more, maybe. But
Right.
on a competitive team, and let's say a high school, they're all trying to get to college, and it's about, stats and numbers. And it really is a constant process of just constant talk from myself, challenging the coaches to trying to get buy-in from the parents who can't always, of focus on you. It's about you. It's about your journey. Focus on you and good things will happen. One simple skill I do usually at the beginning is have everyone list their strengths, not in relation to someone else. And after practice, after games, having them recognize what others brought to the table. So we're learning to appreciate that we can't create success alone. I need this person. So a lot of intentionality of making sure that you can recognize others when they do well. It's not a reflection on you negatively, and making sure you stay true to your strengths.
I love all of that. It's an inside out job.
Yeah.
And, you do need to be able to appreciate the contributions from your teammates. And I find sometimes when I'm working with a team, I'm just going to say it happens more with the female teams for me than, I don't know if you feel the same. And I love my teams, all of my teams, and that's not a shot at them in any way, but I'll be honest with them. I tell them usually, like, this is, and I hate to see that, because in my business, in life, I've needed other females to bring me up in different parts of my journey as a woman. And I don't want them to not be able to acknowledge that that's necessary, that you need each other. And it's sad to me when I see it. And I don't know if I'm just more aware of it, but I don't remember it being like that when I was playing sports. But I don't know, maybe I just was unaware.
Maybe you had some great teammates and coaches, but a lot of times it starts with the parents. It's the message they hear, again, but
I said that. And you said, I got to convince the parents, or something like that a couple of minutes ago there. That's a tough part.
Yes.
Because again, it's like the coaches or the groups. I'll have people, who send me messages where we're not even working together yet. We've had one call and I'm like, all right, we're going to come in and do your team. And they're messaging me like, look what we're doing. They're like so into it, the mindset stuff. And other people are like, I kind of want to learn about this, but I don't know what it is. And then that other end, which I'm going to learn to just be like, come to me when you're ready. Like you were saying earlier, I do something called the village mentality talk, not with my collegiate athletes, but when I'm working with high school or I'm in a school, because sometimes I go and do assemblies for elementary schools. I do the village mentality talk after. This is just part of what I do. It's really based on my youngest guy's uniquely beautiful brain and my thought as a teacher that it takes a village for these kids to be successful. And I basically tell them what I did in our first session together. And then I give them some tips how they can be supportive and honestly let the coach coach. We have a little hard talk, a tough love conversation. And there are parents afterwards that say, I wish I heard this years ago. And then there's some where I'm like, they're just not in on this. And that's okay. I'm not trying to force them. What do you do to help those parents, coaches, teams when the parents aren't sure, they're not buying in?
Well, first of all, I love that you call it the village talk. I might have to steal that. From you, but because it is so true. We can spend all this time and invest in them. Coaches can as well. But if they're hearing different messaging at home, that's the majority of what they hear. So it's a battle. I like to come at it as how you can help your child. This is the best way to help your child, and have some of the similar talks probably as you do. Like, you're modeling when you come in home and you're complaining about your boss, your child's learning it's okay to come home and complain about my coach.
Right.
The body language. If you're like telling your child to be confident, which by the way, I hate. Let's get back to that in a second. But
yeah, we'll hold on to that one.
Yes. So if I'm saying, come on, be confident, honey, but then you strike out and I'm like, oh,
Right.
your child to
I'm
be
so
upset.
glad you just said that. For those who are listening to the audio version, she put her hands over her face. I have an athlete, and without being too specific of what team this is, he looks at his father every time he makes a mistake. And I'm not even going to go into what sport this is. And the dad does exactly what you just did, Tammy, almost every time. And sometimes it's like not even, I'm like, why is he even doing that right now? And he puts his hands and he also does a head shake. And the kid, he looks almost every time. It's just
Mhm.
tradition now. But yeah, that body language is a killer when you're saying be confident. And we're going to come back to that confidence in a second, because do they even know how to do that? Has that been taught? But
Exactly.
yeah, the body language. So do you actually have talks with I haven't had that talk with the parents yet. I probably should throw it into my next little village mentality talk. But do you address that with the parents or the athlete? What do you do there?
I address it with the parents, with the athlete. Hey, we're trying to give this to your parents as well, but you can't control your parents. So, let's give you the skills, and, our eyes control our focus. Let's try to get you to change where your eyes go after you make a mistake. But yeah, I think Pete Carroll said it the best. I read a quote from him one time, and he said, it's a coach's and parents' job to be the best cheerleaders or best poker player. And I love it. He was like, in a game, I've got to be a poker player.
Yeah.
And I thought that's perfect. So I give the parents that quote a lot of time of.
I'm going to steal that from you. You steal the village mentality. I've heard that quote before, and that's great, because body language, they notice it. And I love how you also just said where your eyes are focused. Because if you're turning your head to the bleachers or wherever your parents are, even your coach sometimes, you need to have your eyes focused, that next play mentality type of attitude, because if not, you can get stuck in it. And a lot of times they make the mistake so much bigger than it actually was. And then that has that ripple effect into the rest of their game that day.
Exactly.
So
and it looks bad for those that want to play in college. That's what I always share with them. College coaches look for things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They, if it's between you and someone else and that other person stays focused and doesn't worry about mom and dad, coaches don't want, mom and dads that are making their job tougher.
Oh, I hope everyone listening just turns the volume up on that one, because, I think I hope everyone comes from a good place for their kid who's an athlete, but you need to learn how you can best support them. Like Tammy had said earlier, this is for my listeners, this, Tammy, and you got to develop that poker face and be the, best cheerleader. Hey coach, does any of this sound familiar? Your athletes are talented, but they lose focus when the pressure's on. Confidence swings up and down from game to game. Some play tight and second guess themselves. They struggle to reset after mistakes. Think about it. How many games or competitions have you lost, not because the other team was better, but because your athletes got in their own heads? Every coach has seen it. The missed free throw, the strikeout, the dropped pass, not from lack of skill, but from lack of mindset. That's why I created the Champion Within programs, to bring tools that will help unlock peak performance for your athletes. It's also why I lead team workshops on visualization, breath work, and mental skills training to take these conversations off the podcast and bring it to your team. I do this in person and virtually. Imagine your athletes learning how to bounce back faster, handle pressure with confidence, and step into the game mentally sharp and ready. That's the difference mindset training makes. If you're ready to give your team that edge, let's talk. Go down to the show notes after the show and set up a call to see how I can help your athletes win from the inside out. The greatest thing I did when I shifted for my own kids when they were youth athletes, I did this because my oldest, he's the toughest on himself in all areas of life. I just started saying, I love watching you play after the game. keeping it simple. And then it was like, do you want to go to the snack bar? And some days it was hard for me, especially if it was a sport that I had played or I had coached. It was hard, but I had to do that because I want to support him. And it's his journey, and parents need to really lean into that, because I think they forget that. We're coming back to that confidence thing right now. They're giving all these little tips to their kids, sometimes unnecessarily. And then they're forgetting to check themselves, So let's get back to that confidence piece. What do you say to help them be confident? Because I find that if I ask people, first time they call, first time we work together, what's something that you really want to work on? Confidence, confidence, confidence. I mean, if I took a survey, that's number one.
Well, if we have confidence, we can overcome anything that we're faced with. We might not always win or get the result, but we know we're okay and we can bounce back quicker. So to me, the confidence piece is the foundation of everything else. The one thing not to say is be confident. And right. I had to learn that the hard way. I was coaching men and women's tennis in college, and I thought I was being the positive, supportive coach. Come on, guys, be confident. And I had a guy turn to me one time and he said, "Coach, that doesn't help, right?" And I was like, ooh, okay. Take a deep breath, Tami.
Right, pause. Yeah.
Ask him more. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me. And he said, "It's not like I'm not trying to be confident. And when you tell me that, I just get more frustrated." And that probably helped me more as a coach than if you were to ask me one thing that helped make you a better coach, that right there would be my go-to. And so, I took, okay. And I started thinking, okay, what do I need to say instead? And I believe, and I put it in my first book, The Confident Athlete, that 4 steps, if we are intentional, we can control our confidence and get off that confidence roller coaster. And that's our self-talk, our body language, how we carry ourselves, how we see ourselves, and preparation, putting in the work, obviously. But that's the mental prep too. We know to put the physical. So if I'm in the moment and I'm a parent or a coach, instead of be confident, hey, change your self-talk or get your body strong. Act as if the athlete you want to be. I use that term a lot. Act as if. You start acting as if, you're more likely, to switch gears. So that's kind of how I've evolved from that moment as a tennis coach, where I just wanted to bury myself under the ground.
Right. I mean, shout out to him though for actually saying that to you. And that's a gift. If you're a coach listening, I have a lot of coaches that listen. Sometimes, like you alluded to it, kind of even said it, it's going to sting sometimes when a kid says something to you, or, even if they're a collegiate, pros even. Like, I actually had a professional baseball player who said he said something to I think it was a hitting coach, like, "Could you just give me a minute? We just met. I want you to watch me a little bit and swing." And, that can land and sting a little bit as a coach. But if you're willing to receive that feedback, and maybe it wasn't delivered in a pretty bow, and packaged up like nicely, like you would love feedback to be, most feedback isn't when you're trying to grow.
Yeah.
If you realize there is a gift in there for you, like you said, like that changed everything for you. Mm-hmm. Coaches need to be willing to grow and learn from their athletes. We're not, perfect. We're human, like you said earlier. So I give him a lot of credit for saying that to you. And, now it's helped probably countless individuals through your books, through your mental performance coaching.
Yeah, it was a tough moment, but, it was, my thought and something I try to keep in my brain, does this help me be successful?
Right.
It did sting. And I try to tell athletes that too. Some things are, when we tell them, it stings, and when we get stuff, it stings, but ultimately, what nugget's going to help me be successful?
Right. What can I learn from this?
Trying to be successful over being right. I know anyone listening that hears me probably is rolling their eyes, because that's something I say a lot. Do you want to be right or successful?
Right.
And I can be right that, hey, you told me that in a bad way. You shouldn't have said it that way, but that's not going to help me be successful. So,
yeah, I love that. I mean, that's simple but powerful. It sounds like that's one of your go-tos. People are like, "Oh, we heard that before." I love that. Exactly. I feel it. I often get things from when I'm editing at my podcast, especially. I'll go back and be like, "I need to write that down and say it to my own kids, athletes, different people." So many different things that we could dive into, but I really want to talk about your books. I actually saw an Instagram post, an injured athlete book is coming out soon, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, I know you have a lot out there and we'll drop links so people can go scoop those up, but tell me, why did you create them? And, tell me, I guess, about the next one coming, whatever you're feeling you want to talk about with the books.
I'll give you the Cliff Note versions of being a writer as well. And it goes back to my struggle with confidence. Back in high school, I had really good grades except anything involving writing. Book report, great content, Tami, but come on, you really need to work on your writing. And my brother could write extremely well. It'd be, hey, why don't you write like your brother? Anyway, I one book report, I was like, I'm gonna knock this out of the water. And I spent a lot of time on, couldn't wait to get it back. Finally, after a few days, teacher said, I've been keeping this because I've been trying to find who you plagiarized from. And it had a big red F. It said, too good to be yours.
Oh.
But what was the message? Message was I could write because I knew I had done the work, but I heard the result and her feedback.
Right.
And so that kept that kind of chain around me that I can't write. And I started doing this through college, through everything, started doing this work, can't write. Coaches would say, hey, you need a blog or you need a resource or book. No, don't write. Well, luckily I had a coach call me out. It was a college soccer coach. He said, if you say that, maybe I need a new mental game coach because you're always challenging us to do better. I was like, ooh, okay, going to write. So the first book was in response to that challenge, I guess, but to show myself that I could write. And I leaned on, what's my message? If I were to have to give a keynote on my feet, what would it be about? And so that's kind of how I developed that book. Confidence is my go-to. I think it's a game changer. How can I give coaches and athletes want simple, easy? How can I give you simple concept, share a story of an athlete of how it worked, and then give you a couple tools to apply it in your life? So that started. Then I did the confidence journal just so to have kind of like to go with, the confident athlete. This is good. This is a personal story of this is, if you can't tell, I'm big on this is good.
I see, sure. Yeah, in the audio, we got all the this is good around there. I was going to ask about it, so I'm glad you're bringing it up.
But it's my motto that kind of changed my life. I was going through a lot of bad things or challenging things. I shouldn't say bad. But I read This Is Good. It's an African folktale. Okay. And the whole gist is nothing's good or bad till we decide it is. There might be something in that moment that's bad, but if we keep our brain alive long enough, often something different and much better takes its place.
Right.
And so I share this, folktale with every team I work with. Some of them, roll their eyes. This is cheesy. Others are like, oh, okay, this is cute. This sounds good. Then they forget about it. Every once in a while, you get that athlete or team that just embraces it and loves it. So this was a women's soccer team, Belmont University in Nashville.
Okay.
And they had about as much adversity as could possibly happen to a team, but they kept themselves alive. Even when there were moments where I thought, I don't even know what to say to them today. Like, right. I'm starting to lose hope, but every day, this is good, regardless of what happened. So
is that their team motto?
Yeah, that became the motto. They had T-shirts, they had everything. They would get scored on and they would start screaming, this is good. Other teams would like, bad call. They would say,
wow, they really embraced it. That's pretty cool.
They really, really did. The challenges at the beginning, didn't win for like 2 months of the year, stayed alive, stayed afloat, and were able to win the conference championship, go to the NCAAs. I mean, they had to go on a major run.
Okay.
But that mindset was what fueled them. So they were like, okay, we did this, so now you got to write a book about us. So the book is.
I love how your books came to like being. It was just almost like a challenge, like, go do this now.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, y'all are my inspiration. But I wanted to help readers and be a resource too. So it's the journey with this team, but the lessons we learned along the way and how you can apply the this is good mindset to whatever challenge you're facing. So it's kind of a resource / story journal.
Okay.
The next 2 books are called Challenger Deep. Challenger Deep being the lowest spot in the ocean. So it's kind of like when you are at rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And the first one is just kind of fables and parables of just quick little, that I like to use stories.
Me too.
Yeah. They're obviously, they make a better impact. So kind of a collection of stories I use. Someone had said, hey, you need to put your stories together and then try to give reflection questions and ways you can take it and apply it. And then the other Challenger Deep is actual elite athletes or teams and sharing their stories of how they could rise above. And then got the injured athlete coming out. I would say the majority of athletes I've been working with have lost their confidence upon returning from injury or are dealing with an injury. And there's not that many resources out there for the injured athlete. So that's it's been a work in progress, but I'm excited to finally have it where I want other people to now look at it. So it'll be released on Wednesday. So I'm super excited about that.
Congratulations. We'll put the link in for all of those. And I'm sitting here nodding my head, and now I'm going to have to go buy more books. So I feel like I'm like, let me go get this other book. But they sound amazing. I love how you put the tools in there that people can use and the stories. I know when I'm out giving a keynote or I'm working in a workshop or even just talking with people, stories land. People can connect and relate to that. So I'm sure these are great reads. I'm looking forward to reading them myself. And for my listeners, I'll definitely drop those links in our show notes so you can go and click right on them and dive in. I love that. So many great stories. I don't know which one I'm going with first. Would you recommend in order or?
Confident athlete, there are stories, but it gives you the basic skills. If you like stories better, then probably would start with This Is Good.
This Is Good.
Okay. And, I'm a little biased because that's but I saw the power of the mindset. This was not the most talented team by any means, and they had every reason to cave in and give in, but they bought into it. And
I mean, Tami, I feel like this should be like a Netflix show or like a movie. Like it sounds so great. Like, I feel like you might be needing to put that book out and maybe someone's listening right now on the podcast. I think that would be I would watch it. I would binge that if somebody did that. I'm just saying it sounds like a pretty cool story. So I can't wait to read it. And hopefully we'll see you out there getting a Netflix deal or something. It sounds pretty cool. I got to ask you about the injured athlete. I have done visualizations. I have a private podcast that athletes and really people in general have purchased, but I do an injured meditation and how they can do that visualization like you were talking about that you did for yourself. I guide them through that. Do you find that your injured athletes are willing to do that type of work, or are they so focused on the injury? I sometimes I have to convince the ones I'm working with, but they, if they dive in, there's been a ton of studies where they've, tested your brain and different things when you're visualizing yourself doing this. And they did it with an Olympic swimmer, I believe. I'm thinking of one of them where, of course, it's not the same as being in the pool, but it was very similar. And she actually rehabbed and performed quite well when I believe it was an Olympic trial or something.
Is that Laura Wilkerson? The Olympic diver?
I'm like drawing a blank right now. I'm like, like me reading it. It might have.
I do talk about her in the book.
Oh, really?
She's a great example of that. Yeah, she broke her foot right after the trials.
Yeah, it's probably was
practice going to the Olympics and then won the gold medal.
Yeah,
and was not expected to be. So it wasn't like she was just that much better. But great story.
Yeah. So do you find that your athletes struggle to want to use the mindset tools? I have my younger athletes, definitely, I would say high school, like I have someone I'm thinking of now had a knee injury, a soccer player, and she was just like, I'm done, and it's hard, but once they lean in, we've seen great success for them. But how do you see that for your athletes?
I see both. It's honestly the buy-in. But I ask them, do you want to come back better and stronger, or do you want to have a pity party? And that's a hard conversation. Some of them don't like it, but if they don't like it, then I probably don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to use it or try to get better.
Yeah.
But I do tie in that This Is Good and have them list everything that could possibly be good about this injury. Because we do. Oh, my sport's been taken away. Well, it's also usually, I know not all cases, but usually a short-term event in your career.
Right.
But we often sacrifice our why for short-term events. So what's the bigger picture? Why are you playing your sport? And how can this help in the long run? And most of them, this is the first time I've known to work on the mental game. So now I can, do that, or they work on getting stronger. Maybe they didn't take that time to work on another body part or work on their left hand, basketball or something. So trying to get them to, okay, first and foremost, what is good about this?
Yeah, leaning into this is good. I love that.
Yeah. So I do pull that into the book. Then getting them, there was a study done that faster healers and slower healers, and the number one trait with that was their self-talk.
Yeah.
Why did this happen to me? Or, okay, this happened. This is what I'm doing now.
Right.
That kind of, and we've alluded to the self-talk and how powerful that is. And then visualization's a big piece, which, by the way, completely off topic, but it's not off topic, but this amazed me. And you may have seen this, and there's a video out there.
Okay.
But in my research, you can actually increase muscle mass by just visualizing.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
I was like, okay, no. And so I started researching it. And yeah, you really can. No, it's not like going to the gym and lifting weights.
Right. It's not, I mean, people listening right now are not like, wait, what? I
don't have to go to the gym. Yeah.
Stay there and visualize. But yeah, it can quite literally change, because then your brain, the reticular activating system starts to, this is how you show up, and your body will actually change and now, again, those who are listening, sometimes people will say to me like, oh, I want this. I'm like, it's not a magic pill. You're going to have to do this. And I loved when you just said, this is an opportunity for me to learn how to do the mental side of the game. And on the flip side, I do tell people, let's not wait till there's a problem. Like teams that I'm working with. And I think when you were saying that, I'm like, as I'm thinking about it now, it's individuals that I've coached with the injuries. If they had been working with me or you or any mental performance coach before that injury happened, it would be different, and of course we can't, whatever, the shoulds and the supposed tos can't go back and change what we have already done. But it's easier if you have these tools in your pocket as you're going along. And I've been on a mission, and to some degree, I'm not going to try to like force people and chase after the ones that aren't ready yet anymore. But I've been on a mission to really get this into young athletes' brains and school. That's why I do the elementary assemblies and things, because if we can teach them when they're young and rechange their reprogram their brain, I explain it's plastic. We can change the way this happens for you. What a difference it would make.
Yes.
In their life. Selfishly, I wish I had this stuff when I was young. I didn't have any of this as an athlete.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I think it's so many different ways we could go there. I could talk to you forever, by the way.
I am thoroughly enjoying this.
Yeah, I really think I just have
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think educators are missing the boat here. Teaching young kids at a young age how to talk to themselves better, how to visualize, would help success in algebra by the time they get to high school.
Yeah.
But we don't teach those skills that will build foundation for success in whatever they do. And I think
I'm just going to say, because I haven't put it out into the world yet, but I made a goal for myself maybe 2 weeks ago that I am going to own the Philadelphia area for schools. I'm still going to do my athletes. I love doing that. I go out and get to speak to corporate spaces too, but I want to really own this Philadelphia space. Like, I'm outside of Philly, but the general area here, and start teaching the kids. And I'm like, I know schools aren't buying in yet, but like you just said, I've done it with a couple schools. My son has seen epic growth because of it. It had nothing to do with sports with him. It was all academic, and other people need to learn this. I want to teach the teachers. I was a teacher for 20 years. I want to teach the teachers how to do it without rechanging everything. So someone right now is listening like, great, we have another initiative. No, I want to make this, I don't want to say easy, but doable. And I want young kids to learn this, because like you just said, why are we going to wait till they struggle when they're in algebra? Let's start teaching them how to do this. And it's self-talk. It's all the things. I'm going to get fired up thinking about it, but I'm putting it out there because I haven't actually officially said it to anyone except myself and written it on a board and probably visualizing it myself. But here it is. I'm putting it out there. So thank you.
I love it.
And as a teacher, I know it is possible. As a coach, athlete, parent, all those things, it is possible. I just need Just need some people to buy in so I can prove it to the others. But
I mean, it's a life changer. It really is.
it is. It is. And parents have actually sent me messages after I've gone in and just one time worked with a whole school in an assembly and said, my daughter, you changed something today. And she came home and taught me, because I teach them, when you teach someone else, you learn it again. I'm curious, as I said, I could talk forever about a lot of these things with you. What do you do personally to keep your head in the right place when you're coaching people and just life in general?
So I have what I call bookend routines. So if I don't do my morning routine and my nighttime routine, I know I shouldn't already speak that into existence, but I know the day is going to be a bigger struggle.
Mm-hmm.
In the morning, I do a lot of it. I have my why written to where I see it first thing in the morning. Because, people are like, are you always positive? Well, no, I'm not always positive. I don't always wake up wanting to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
But when I read my why, I want to make a difference as many athletes' lives as possible, help them get off the confidence roller coaster. 9 times out of 10, it gives me that momentum to start the day stronger. I spend 30 seconds to a minute, sometimes even longer if I need to, of imagining what the confident me looks like for the day. What am I saying? What am I doing? How am I handling things or whatever is on my plate? And that really sets me up for success because now I've got that image at the forefront of my brain.
Right.
I do some devotions, which just helps me, put things in perspective. And then I try to do some mindful activities. That varies. My favorite one, just because I hate to say it, knocks 2 things out at one time and my dogs love it. But first of all, I do a gratitude walk with them and tell them everything I'm thankful about. So I'm putting that out into the universe. But then they're not really doing it. But I try to go through the 5 senses of, okay, what are same route every day? So what am I noticing I didn't notice the day before? And all I'm thinking about is the visual. And it's amazing how you just get so focused and zoomed in. Once I do that, then how many different sounds can I hear? And so I go through the whole senses and my brain feels so much clearer after I do that. That takes maybe 5 minutes at most. And so that is one of the practices that I can't say I do every single day, but I can tell a big difference when I do.
Mm-hmm.
At night, I do a writing exercise, sometimes a gratitude, write down what I was grateful for, but what were the thoughts I had that did not help me get to my goals today? And then I reframe them. And I try to spend about 5 minutes. I don't want to do any more than that to overwhelm and relive every negative thought I had.
Sure.
But that's just getting the reps in. We talked about preparation's key. So I have to get the reps in to make sure I stay sharp.
Absolutely.
My why and imagining, me at my best self are my 2 go-tos. Even if the day started, it's going bad. Okay, I just pause, remember why I'm doing this, and then get that image of what I look like at my best self.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I love it. I'm always curious when I talk with people, do you do things intentionally? I do a lot of the similar things that you do. It's funny when I walk, no matter what time it is, if I pass a basketball net, I'm not super tall, but I will jump up and touch the net. And sometimes people are like, what are you doing? But I'm like touching different things. They're like, yeah, we saw you. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to dunk or anything. I'm just touching the bottom of the net, Very cool. And I love the why. I actually have things, I was like looking at or listening to the audio on my board. I have my why written down and different things. And sometimes it changes as my business has grown and my life is shifting and changing. But I love reviewing those things as well. Like you said, we have to put in the work. If you don't, walk the walk and you're just out there saying, do these things, then I just think that it's important to do this. So thank you for sharing. And I'm sure someone's probably stealing some of them. I hope they do.
And I love hearing whatever else. So anyone listening and you do something, please share that with me because that's how
I love hearing it too. Yeah, I'm always like, "Ooh, that's pretty cool. Maybe I could use that or teach someone else how to do that." Because I always tell people what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you, but you need to try this and see how it goes, and then we can tweak it and make it best for you. So I think that's great when we can share different things that you do. And I also love, I just want to highlight this, that you said, we don't have to do this forever. It's 5 minutes. It's real quick, 30 seconds, a couple different things. You mentioned that I think there's a misconception with mindset and mental toughness, mental training, that we need to stand around a tree and hold hands for 3 hours. And, and listen, people want to do that, fine, but not everyone has the time. Not everybody is wanting to do that. So I tell people, you can do this on the bus ride to the game. You can, I do a lot, even when I'm in the shower, I'm, doing things. It's doable and it doesn't have to take over your whole day. I appreciate you putting those at least twice. I heard you say 30 seconds, a quick minute here, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear people, well, I don't have time to work out. Well, just go get a 5-minute walk in and it changes your body. I think people that's a built-in excuse. I don't have time. I don't have time to do visualization. Yes, you do. It takes 30 seconds.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's, I feel like, I don't know where they get that idea from for the working out and the visualization, mental training skills. Somebody's telling them, oh, you have to spend all this time. But once they realize and they have that permission slip signed, so to speak, you can just do this quickly. They're like, wait, what? And what happens is, not for everyone, then you say, I'm going to do this for 30 seconds. And then it ends up being, maybe you do it for a minute. It's just over time, your brain will start to shift and change. And this is what I do now. And it's not even, I don't have time. It's just, it becomes a part of you. You quite literally retrain your brain to do these things. So it's pretty cool when you start doing it. And it's worth it. Like you said, it changes your whole life when you can teach someone how to do this. Well, Tami, we're going to jump to our last question. I'm probably going to have you back again because, I think there's so much to talk about. Our last question is, if you were the main character in a movie titled The Champion Within, and the audience is sitting there, a cliffhanger moment, the screen goes to black, what are they yelling or hashtagging, posting on social media that they hope you do next? This is good.
I hope they're saying, hey, remember, this is good. And
I love it.
I hate to be repetitive, but that's my go-to in anything I'm doing. That's what teams are shouting in the moment.
Right.
Bases loaded, 2 outs in a softball state championship game, So yeah, sorry I didn't add anything new there, but
I think that's perfect. This is good. That could go in so many different directions. Don't be surprised if you see me starting to say, this is good. This is good. It's simple, but powerful. And when you can reframe that, I think that might be the first one I read. I'm going to tell you.
Well, not to give it away, but I think it's worked its way into every book but one.
Oh,
so you're going to get the
this is good mantra, so to speak. And okay,
I mean, it's just too much of who I am and what I base things off of.
Right.
So it is interwoven into all the books.
Well, I love that. I'm excited to read them. Well, thank you, Tami, for hanging out with us today. Where can people connect with you? I know beyond the books, you're a speaker, you work with teams. I want to drop those links as well. Where's the best place if somebody's listening right now and says, we need Tami to speak or come work with our teams, or of course I'll do the book links, but where should they reach out?
The best place to find everything is on my website, www.TamiMatheny.com. So at TamiMatheny.com. Pretty active on Facebook, have a lot of different groups. Parents in the Mental Game, for any parents out there, just how you can help your athlete, The Confident Athlete. And then I have Challenger Deep, where I like to share and encourage other people just to share a great rising above adversity story out there. So we just fuel our tanks. And then on Instagram, Tami Matheny Coaching.
Okay, very cool. Well, I'll put all those links for my listeners so that you can just go down there, tap on the show links, and connect with Tami. And I'm excited to hear what's good next for you, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of amazing things happening.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here. I've enjoyed it. I could talk all day about the mental game because I know the difference it's made in my life, and I know you feel that way as well. So hopefully we've sold someone on it today.
I think we did. I think I'm going to get some messages where people are saying, wait a minute, I think I'm going to try that. I appreciate you, and I wish you all the best, rooting for you always. And for my listeners, thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.